Hey guys, today we're gonna talk about open files, why they are important, and how to control and take advantage of them. To get this, we'll analyze an instructive example by world champion Anatoly Karpov. Keep watching. This position is from the game Karpov versus Unzicker in 1974. Here it is white to move. I would like you to pause the video, analyze a little by yourself. If you want, you can write your thoughts in the comments, and then maybe later I can come back to you with some feedback or some tip about your thought process. I will set the move very soon. Let's try to understand the position. The material is balanced, and when we analyze the pawn structure, we notice there is only one open file on the board, and it is this one, the A file. When that happens, the one controlling the open file, we have the advantage in the position. So the move Karpov is going to play here is going to be related to this idea. And it is this move, bishop a7. This is a really nice move. Why could you move your bishop from e3, where it is safe and controlling so many squares, to a7, where it is going to be attacked by enemy pieces and is not going to be controlling as many squares? Well, the idea is that he wants to block the a file because in the next moves, white is going to be doubling rooks on this file. So then he's going to increase the pressure there, and probably he will have some threats and possibilities to definitely control the open file. Then continues knight e8, bishop c2, clearing the line so the rook can go there, knight c7, rook a1, queen e7, and bishop b1. Now the queen is protecting a2. Black plays here, bishop e8, knight e2. It's interesting how black doesn't have too much space in this position. White has the pawn here on d5, and black pieces are having some trouble back there. Black plays here, knight d8, and this is a really interesting moment in the game. Here Karpov is going to play knight h2, and the idea here is that as we can see, white is controlling the open file. That's very well. We have a lot of pressure. At some point we could be moving the bishop somewhere with some threats and some ideas, maybe controlling the open file, but right now we don't have a clear way to increase the pressure there on the queen side. So we need to maneuver a little. We need to create some unbalance on the other side of the board and see how we can create some real problems for black right now, because as I said, it's really hard to make progress only working on the queen side right now. So knight h2 is just preparing things to break, for example, over a4. Black plays here bishop g7, and then the move we said, a4. These kind of moves are a little dangerous. We need to be clear with these ideas, because when black takes, they are getting a very nice outpost on e5 for the knight. However, as you can see, there's no clear way for black to get e5 with one of the knights. Also, if this pawn moves, we are getting d4 for our knight, putting pressure there on the queen side and getting a very good square for our knight too. Well, the game continues here with f6. Actually, there is this line with it takes f4, knight takes f4, and f6, planning knight f7 and knight e5. That could be interesting. Notice when black plays f6 to clear this square, they are also blocking the bishop in the great diagonal. The game could continue like knight f3, trying to get d4, as we mentioned before, and white is a little better, but probably this was a good way to continue in that position just by trading here. In the game, black plays f6, and well, then Karpov is going to block everything here, getting even more space, but he will have some possibilities later on the king side. Black is playing g5, and then another special moment in this game. Here, as you know, we have the file, we have more space, but okay, how do you make progress? The answer is this bishop here. We need to improve this bishop, because this bishop is doing nothing right now. It's not going to be a big problem to improve the knights. They are fine in blocked positions. They can maneuver and create some trouble if they need. But the problem is the bishop. How do you make this bishop work? Well, there is this beautiful plan by playing bishop c2, bishop d1, and bishop h5. And your bishop is going to improve a lot if you can do that. Even if your opponent trades it, it's perfect, because this bishop is the best bishop for black pieces. And this is your worst bishop. So even if he trades it, it's good for white. Also, if this bishop is not on the board, then there will be weaknesses in light squares, and probably we can take advantage of that by using that square h5 with queen and also maybe with knights. Let's see how the game continues. Karpov is playing bishop c2 and Unzicker is playing bishop f7, then knight g3 with the ideas of bishop d1, bishop h5 we already mentioned, and knight b7, bishop d1, h6, which is probably not so good. Notice now g6 is going to be unprotected, and this is going to be important later in this game. Karpov plays here bishop h5, then queen e8, and now queen d1. Now there are some moves like knight d8, rook a3, king f8, rook 1, a2. They are just making some tempos here, king g8, and now knight g4. But what's going on here? This bishop on h5 is hanging now. So the question is, can black capture the bishop? I mean, two attackers, only one defender? Well, actually, after bishop takes bishop, knight takes bishop, black cannot really take here, because then Karpov would have a very strong move. Knight takes f6, this covered attack. I mean, knight takes f6, this covered attack, getting the queen on h5. Let's see this on the board. So bishop takes, and if queen takes, the queen is hanging in the same line as our queen. So we can just play here, knight takes pawn, and queen takes queen. So the game continues with king f8. Now they are taking the bishop because we want to have a discovered check when we move the knight. After king f8, the game continues knight e3, protecting the bishop. Now king g8, and now the trade. As we said, trading these bishops is not a problem for white. That's part of the plan. So we can exploit the weakness in light squares in the next moves. Knight takes f7 and queen h5. The knight comes back to d8, and here another nice move by Karpov, and it is this queen g6. The idea is to clear this square for the knight. So now he's planning things like knight h5, increasing the pressure also on the king side. And there is a big problem here, and it is that if black trades queens, anyone could say, well, the pawn is going to be very weak on g6. And it is true, the pawn is weak, but the question is, how can black attack it? Black won't have a clear way to attack that pawn on g6, and in the next two moves, white is going to be playing knight f5 and knight h5, and the pressure here on g7 is just going to be too much. Also, there will be pressure on d6 by this knight, on f6 by this knight, and on h6 by the other knight from f5. So let's see this on the board. So queen takes queen, pawn takes queen, and in the next two moves we are playing knight f5 and knight h5, and this position is just won, strategically won for white very soon. Also getting material up in the next moves for sure. So after this queen g6, black cannot really trade, and they are playing here king f8. Then we have knight h5, and in this position Unzicker resigns. The problem is that in this position black is smothered, they cannot move, there are many threats, and for example, let's analyze right now. White is taking the bishop on g7. We already know that trading does not work. So let's see, for example, queen f7 here, protecting the bishop on g7. Then now we can just play bishop b6. Now the open file we made sure we were controlling with the two rooks is going to be really essential in this line. Here black can play some things like rook takes rook or rook d8, but they're not really working too much. For example, rook takes rook, then we trade, and after knight a8, well, we can just play here bishop takes knight and queen takes queen. And the problem is that in the end of the line we have a skewer here getting the bishop. One more time, the open file. And well, the other line after bishop b6, rook a b8, well, in this case we can just play here bishop takes knight, rook takes bishop, and rook a6, controlling things, threatening pawns. The pawn on d6 is going to be weak, also the pawn on b5 is weak. If black plays here knight b7, then there is rook b6 attacking the other pawn, pinning over here, and white is controlling the open file, so there could be rook a7 also. This position is lost in this top level. One of the main things we can learn from this game is that when you control an open file, you are getting access to important ranks in your opponent's field, like the back rank, like the 7th rank, or like the 6th rank. Usually in these ranks there are many targets, so controlling them is going to be a big problem for your opponent. The question for today: which was your favorite move in this game? Mine, as you can imagine, bishop a7. Let me know yours in the comments. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next.